Welcome, everybody, to the very first Nightmares Minicast, where we talk about short topics that we feel aren't enough to fill out a full Nightmares podcast episode, but warrant enough discussion for at least a few minutes of your time and our time. These minicasts will also be uploaded during this period of time where we are making some improvements to the channel. So sometimes we're not going to be able to record full episodes, but that's why we have minicast now. And yeah, Zach, how are you today?
Minicast!
Mark?
Doing very well.
All right.
I'm in the hot seat today.
So we got the, yes, this is also the very first time that Mark is handling the audio recording for a podcast. I am not the one mixing our microphones as we're talking.
God help us all.
Yeah, any complaints about sound for this episode, direct them to Mark.
Sound or any other technical issues, it is all the blonde guy's fault.
Oh, yes. So anyway, for this very first minicast, and this is a movie that I watched the other night, and it's a movie called Z, just the letter Z. It's on Shudder, and I'm just going to say up front, under any other circumstance, it would be a movie that I would say is average at best, not very good at worst. I watch it, a few minutes later, I'm on to something else.
But there are some funny factors to this film.
Yes, but as I was finishing it, I just left the credits on, and I noticed a couple things that made me go, I kind of need to bring this up to the guys. So, a little background, the movie's about this married couple. They have an 8-year-old son, and their 8-year-old son has an imaginary friend who is increasingly becoming more violent. At first, they think their son's just troubled. There's a part where he allegedly throws another kid down some stairs, which was actually probably the best part of the movie because it was something that I legitimately was not expecting. There are some things that are done really well in this movie. For the first two-thirds, I would say it's basically American Babadook, but not as annoying, but also not as insightful.
Okay, when you say not as annoying, do you mean you didn't want to punch each character in the face
like
for 5 seconds?
The kid in the Babadook was just really annoying. Like,
yes.
He is just screaming constantly, and the movie is basically like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, like the kid was terrible. I hated his guts, and I also hated the mother. She was annoying as fuck too. They both. I just hate that fucking movie.
At least with the mother, you do have like the subplot of her grieving over her dead husband. So that movie, if you like the movie, it has some subtext and themes that you can actually discuss. And even if you don't like the movie, there are those themes that you can still discuss outside of your feelings towards the movie as a whole.
All right, fair enough.
So it at least has those discussion points to it. Whereas this one, Z, was just kind of like there's some good stuff, like I said, but the first two-thirds, I felt like it was like, oh, that was good. That I didn't like so much, though. That was creepy. That's from another movie, though. Like, it was just a constant back and forth between...
One foot forward, 2 steps back.
For the first two-thirds, I'd say 1 step forward, 1 step back.
Fair enough.
Like, it was like just
Fair
dead
enough.
even of just like things that I liked and didn't like. And I will say the director and the DP, they know how to, and the editor to some degree, I'll be returning to that. They know how to build a scene. They know how to set up a scene. Like, it's really well shot. It's really well put together. I just wish these technical talents were going to a better script.
I will say this, though, just from your base description of the movie, it definitely sounds like a much better movie than The Babadook. At least to me, I would enjoy it more. Like, I'd rather take a dance than sit through an hour or however long that movie was of that annoying fucking kid and that just mother. I truly hated that movie. Me and my cousin, we're just like, oh yeah, this looks interesting. People think this was fucking good? Jesus Christ, every 5 seconds they're like, will somebody punch that kid in the fucking face? Jesus Christ, this motherfucker!
My experience was a little different. The first time I watched it, I was by myself, and I liked it quite a bit. And then like 2 weeks later, I showed it to my friend, then roommate Jake. And as we were watching it, and as I was watching it, I'm just like, what was I on that first time? And when it was over, we were both just like, what did we just watch?
Drugs.
Like
a lot of
it
drugs.
was I can't think of a movie that I had such a 180 on between two viewings.
It's such a
But-
bad movie!
We're not here to talk about Babadook today.
Fair enough.
We're
Get
here
back to the
about
topic.
Yeah. And yeah, like there is a point where there's like a painting of Z on the wall, and the way that they reveal it, it was like, oh wow, that was actually a well built up reveal that I didn't see coming, and it's actually a pretty creepy painting. And it's like that's one part that reminded me of the Babadook, because the Babadook is from like picture
Children's
book,
story?
picture
Yeah.
book, and it was that kind of style of painting. So. And also the actors were really good. The mother especially. The mother, much like in the Babadook, is the main character.
Okay.
She was really good. The father was good. The kid was mostly good, but I do need to briefly touch on it is difficult casting children.
That's fair.
Because it's like if you go too young in terms of how old the child's supposed to be in the story, you run the issue of, am I going to be able to find a kid that's actually that age that can actually act? And not just act, but act for the amount of hours we need them per day.
Yeah.
But then if you go a little older, you run into an issue of, is the audience going to buy into this kid as the age that we're presenting him as?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of reasons why it's difficult working with kids in movies, because it's like, you got to find a kid that can act, but you also got to find a kid that can pass for the age that you want.
Then
and
another thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration is the
Overprotective parents.
parents as well.
Yeah. Honestly, I find that to be a bigger problem.
Yeah, but as far as on-screen issues, that's really the biggest, that's one of the bigger issues. And there were times where I believe the kid was 8 years old, but there were other times where I felt like, is he actually a 10-year-old who's a little short for his age and was cast as an 8-year-old? I don't know. But there were times where it was like he was acting like a little older than 8.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, but that's not really the reason why I'm here to talk about the movie. I'm just sort of going through background here. And then the last third was just, it goes off the rails. Unintended pun, because something happens that does involve a train.
Spoilers?
You know, we've talked about this all the time. We are a discussion podcast, not a review podcast, so we can't be afraid of spoilers.
I know, I'm just fucking around.
I was being nice. I was warning everybody about
I probably should have done that. We'll record a separate warning after this.
Again, if people don't realize we're talking about spoilers at this point, just blame Mark.
Sure.
the fuck.
But yeah, so like I said, it's a well-shot movie. It's a well-paced movie. I was never bored, and I mean, it is a short movie, only like 83 minutes, I think it was, and that's including credits.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's short. So yeah, like I said, I was watching the end credits, and a couple things caught my eye about why I feel like I wanted to bring this up. And so the director was also the writer. That's pretty common. He was also the editor. You also see that a few times as well. It's not as common as writer-director, but you do see it. Mm-hmm. And he was also the VFX person. Mark, where does that sound familiar?
Oh, it sounds like Zach running the whole show.
Oh, but it goes.
wait, there's
There is
more.
more. There is more. And I told Zach about this last night, or was it the night before?
It was last night.
Last night. The director of photography was also the colorist.
What the fuck?
So,
Hold up. The title of the movie was Z.
Which is, of course, the first letter of Zach's name.
I swear to God, if one of the actors is the executive producer, I'm fucking gonna.
The director's first name was Brandon.
I feel like we should be talking with these people right now. Like, seriously, could somebody put us in contact with these guys? I want to talk to them. I want to have them on the show.
I swear to God, it's gonna be like us. They're gonna be our doubles running around.
Yeah, so even though story-wise I had issues with it, like I said, I was never bored. It was really well shot. The creepy scenes were really well built up. So there is definite talent that went into this movie. Like, it was not some lazily put together independent movie. Like, there was definite thought put into it. Like I said, I just wish the story itself was a lot more solid as a whole. But since it was put together, and of course they did have a much bigger crew than we've worked with on our shorts so far, but because they did have a writer, director, editor, VFX person, and a DP/colorist, which usually...
That's exactly how our shit goes.
That's how we are. And so,
writer, director, editor, VFX guy, DP, and colorist, and then Mark.
they probably had an equivalent of Mark on their set, but like I said, I noticed in the credits that the director was the editor, and then I saw his name again at VFX, and then I saw the DP's name again at colorist. So those are the similarities I noticed, and like I said, they did have a bigger crew than us, but despite the parts of the story that didn't work for me, I still think it was pretty inspirational to see a team that had basically a bigger version of us, but still nonetheless similar to our setup.
Similar skeleton.
Yep, that managed to get to the point where they have like a full-on Shudder exclusive movie.
Feature.
Yeah.
That's album, so.
That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
I have no doubt we'll get there at some point.
Yeah. Like I said, definite talent. Like, they definitely knew how to build a scene. They got really good performances out of the actors.
They worked with a kid?
Yeah.
And they didn't tell him to scream the entire fucking time?
Yeah, the kid was nowhere near annoying as the Babadook kid.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's all that matters. I really hated that kid.
We're not here to talk about the Babadook.
Yep. We're here to talk about Z.
Even though there are similarities, but
we should do a screaming room on Z just because I do want to watch it, and I want to watch it with this asshole. You know you love me.
Most days.
So yeah, I do look forward to seeing what they do next. I don't know. If they had somebody else write, I think they could bring a lot to a very solid story.
Yeah, maybe just do another story. Try again. I mean, hey, if they did that well with the first one, theoretically, I don't know where they were.
You don't get better if you don't make stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't become a better writer unless you keep writing stuff.
Exactly.
You don't become a better director unless you keep directing stuff. You don't become a better production designer unless you're designing productions. You don't become a better actor unless you act in stuff. Isn't that right, Mark?
That is accurate.
Yeah. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing what they do next. I thought that was really neat to see a similar skeleton to how we work.
Very entertaining.
I would, if somebody knows them and can reach out to them for us, I would not mind interviewing them about the movie.
Honestly, we should just see if we can actually reach out to them ourselves. See
Yeah.
how big they are. I mean, hey, it's just like, sometimes it's as simple. Send an email.
Yeah.
I'd be down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be definitely down.
So yeah, and like I said, the movie as a whole I thought was but seeing what went into the credits, I can't ignore that.
It's refreshing.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yep.
Agreed.
Any final thoughts from you guys?
No? This is...
I just have one final thought.
Okay.
Squirrels.
Of course. Get something different for the minicast.
Fine. Mark? Cats.
That makes more sense with you. He's obsessed with cats.
It's the truth.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for listening to this very first Nightmares Minicast. I hope you enjoyed it. You can check out all of our regular podcast episodes of the Nightmares Podcast, wherever podcasts are available. Also, be sure to follow us on social media at Midwest Horror Network on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and
Slasher.
And of course, if you are checking this out on YouTube with the audio version, if you'd be so kind to stab that like button, smash that subscribe, and click that little dingy bell to be notified every time we drop amazing content right here on the Midwest Horror Network channel. Thank you so much, and we will see you all next time.